Welcome back to the morning show here on the Raj News. Cobhams Asuquo, alongside Two-Face Adibia, Emma Abaga, Wajay, and several other artists, are lending their voices against vote buying during the 2019 general election in a single titled Not for Sale, entreating Nigerians not to sell their votes because the power to change the nation for the better is in every one of us. Well, joining us this morning to speak on this is musician and producer Cobhams Asuquo. But before then, let's take a look at the video.
No matter where you come from, we're part of a great nation. So everyone sing with me, yeah. From the hilltops of Obudu and Enugu, from the plateaus of Jos and Taraba, from the food baskets of Boko and Otubo, yeah, to the smiling, shining sun in Sokoto, we go vote. From Ondo to Jaba, we go vote. From Port Harcourt to Kaduna, yeah, till no one is left behind. Nigeria is yours and mine. Oh, 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 yeah. Ngema, alonyaga vote together. Ngema, alogweja with each other. Oh, le mame. Votes are only with your PVC, man.
Well, Cobhams, many thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
A very catchy song, and with all the latest ridiculous dance steps, if you ask me, in that video, and sending the right messages. But let me ask you, do you think that the Nigerian electorate understand the power of their votes?
So, just having a conversation this morning, I think there's a huge disconnect between, the electorate and the power that they wield, in their votes. And I think that's why it's imperative that we create materials like this that are borderline simple. I don't want to say simplistic because, that can be in itself borderline insulting, but simple enough to drive home the point succinctly, to say, look, if you want good roads, you want good governance, the things that matter to you, at least the things that should matter to you, here is where it starts. It starts with making the right decision. And as simple as that process is of voting, that's what it is that begins the process of making the right decision. And no one should take that away from you, just for some chump change. So it's a very deliberate, effort to, as simply as possible, pass on the message.
Oh, okay. So with this whole initiative was from INEC, correct?
That's correct. INEC in conjunction with the European Union.
Okay. And so can you tell us, did you guys get paid for this whole?
No, at least not in the sense that you would get paid. Now, there are running costs, obviously, for putting something like this together. So as far as that goes, yes. But I think there comes a time when, as a Nigerian, it doesn't matter, what walk of life you come from, you should feel a sense of responsibility to contribute towards just moving the needle, moving the conversation forward. And I've always believed that music is a tool for, social consciousness, engagement, reformation, call it whatever you want to, but just engaging people on that level where you can't just influence pop culture and then not use it to influence people's lives positively. So you don't necessarily have to look to be paid for that. That's, it's your responsibility.
All right, just for viewers now, the last video wasn't the real song. The video is now playing and the title is Not for Sale. Now, Cobhams, the scourge of vote buying in this country dates back many years. How impactful do you think this song will have on the electorates?
So, I think that, with a country like Nigeria, we're talking about 180, 200 odd million people. Most things, no one person can tackle a particular situation by themselves. I think it takes the collective effort of, different Nigerians coming together from their varying locales and saying, look, this is what we need to do to drive the conversation, to, start the conversation or to keep the conversation going. I think this song, is a contribution to that conversation. I don't believe that this song by itself, is the be-all and end-all of this situation. And so because this has been put out, Nigerians are just not going to sell their votes. There's still a disconnect. But it sparks the conversation. And, it sows a seed, even in the heart of one individual. And, you know, as many other people come out and actually say this, especially people who influence pop culture, it then, you know, begs the need for the average Nigerian to ask a question. But there's something about this. Should I really, truly be selling my vote if this is the value? And I think that's what this song seeks to do, to, you know, to drive that conversation.
Indeed. Let's look at the entertainers themselves now. In recent elections, we've seen entertainers taking sides with political parties. How much of an influence do you think that those who drive pop culture change still have on the mindsets of the people going into an election?
So Nigeria is a mixed bag of a lot of things, of opinions, of emotions. And sadly, a lot of the opinions, you know, we are better presidents when, you know, we're in barbershops and when we're in, you know, in parlors and all kinds of places. I think that at the end of the day, you know, the Nigerian musician has a lot of influence on the average Nigerian, you know, and if you look at, you know, the antecedents of some of the musicians who are on this project, Tubaba, for instance, is, you know, a major advocate of, you know, non-violent voting, you know, situations. So I think that we have the right caliber of people lending their voice to this cause. And I think it is influential. I think it's influential enough. Do I think that that by itself is, you know, just about all we need? No, but I think that it's influential enough. And I think that, you know, the more Nigerian musicians who lend their voice to causes such as this, the better. Yes, there are a few who are taking sides for whatever reason. For instance, I know that, you know, I have a candidate that I support. And I think that it would be unfair for me to not use, you know, my position or sphere of influence to speak the truth concerning the candidate that I support for a particular position, you know, if I think that that person is going to move Nigeria or move their community forward. You know what I mean? So that's the reason why I think as musicians, you know, we wield this power of influence. It's up to us to then use it positively and use it for the greater good.
You just talked about a musician that you support. I know that you're supporting Banky.
I support Bankole Wellington 100%. That's correct.
And you wrote a song for him pushing his campaign forward. Yes. So he's on the platform of Modern Democratic Party. What do you make of his chances? I mean, it's a relatively new party, and why do you think that he would make a House of Rep?
First of all, you know, to speak to Banky's person and character, I've known Bankole Wellington for a while, and I know that he's a person of, you know, integrity. I've worked with him, you know, in a business capacity, you know, and also, you know, as friends. And what better candidate to put forward than someone whose integrity I cannot question, you know, at this point. And then to step away from that, I believe that, you know, Banky Wellington is making a very informed decision by starting from a very, very important place, which is fixing, you know, communities. You know, a lot of people have aspirations to be presidents and governors and whatnot, but the honest truth is our problems are multifaceted, and it is best to deal with these problems taking into account the peculiarity of the communities that we come from. And that's what he's doing. He's functioning in a community that he's grown up in, that he's been a part of, that he's thrived in as a business person. And I trust that he understands, you know, the antecedents and all of that to be able to engage meaningfully. And, you know, he's intellectually sound enough to engage meaningfully in that space. And he's progressive, he's forward thinking, you know, and he can engage in that space and bring change. So I'm happy that he's following that approach. In terms of his chances, I think he stands a chance. If he doesn't, he wouldn't be doing this. And if I didn't think so, I wouldn't be supporting him. I think it's time for a major disruption. And a major disruption is saying, look, we can't always allow the status quo because, you know, they have, you know, the dollars to push behind campaigns and stuff like that. People need to rise up and do something. And that's exactly what we're doing. I believe very strongly that, you know, he stands a good chance.
All right, the lyrics of this song, Not for Sale, says, no sell your vote, or it also says no need to fight, which is speaking to election violence now. How much confidence do you have in security agencies to ensuring violence-free elections?
You know, this is Nigeria. We can only do our bit and hope and pray. That's the honest truth. We can only do our bit. And if we're going to speak in very practical terms, you know, there's no telling where and which operatives have been compromised even within the ranks. And so the most we can do is to do our bit and to encourage not even just the electorates, but the security operatives who have the responsibility of protecting Nigerians and ensuring, you know, free and fair elections in this period. That, you know, you cannot fight for those you do not love. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, half the time, the bottom line of wars is, you know, you have people out there fighting for people they don't hate or people they don't love. You know, and so they're also, you know, recipients of whatever benefits or dividends or whatever losses or lack thereof that comes out of, you know, not electing good government or electing good government or whatever it is. So we can only hope and pray that, you know, the situation will not be marred by violence. I'm optimistic that, you know, we're going to make it through. We're going to have, you know, a good election season. And we're going to move forward. I'm a Nigerian. I can't but believe the best for my country. So, yeah, that's my position right now. I'm just doing my bit and hoping and praying.
And being optimistic.
Very optimistic. Okay, if you're ready, since we have the right clip now, wonder if we could listen to it a bit, and then I'll come back to ask you my question.
I don't cock yourself. Sell your vote, you don't sell your future, but sell your birthright. How much self? Divide them by 4 years. How much with that? No sell your vote, oh. No matter the thing them they tell you. No matter the thing they do you. No matter how much money them they give you. No sell your vote, oh. No need to fight, oh. Because your picking no go join you. They won't corner, they love you. Oh, don't sell your photo. Yeah. Okay. If you look at the situation, everything harsh for this our nation. Poverty rising and inflation. Line still day for the fuel station. Things gotta change, my determination. This election, no intimidation. Protect us election, we gotta make sure everybody votes count for the future. For the future. Shine your eye, well. No let anybody deceive you. Don't let them take your vote from you. Now your future be that. Yeah. Now your future be that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Together we can make Nigeria better. Oh, yeah. One voice. We can make Nigeria better.
Okay, so apparently we actually had the right video from the start.
Yeah.
Again, very catchy and everything, sending the right message. But let me ask you, Cobhams, who would you blame for vote buying in Nigeria?
Who would I blame for vote buying in Nigeria? Wow. I don't even know how that helps. I think, you know, it's important to identify, you know, who's responsible for the purpose of fixing the situation. I don't think this is the time I'm going to cast blame. I think it's a number of people. I think it's, you know, the people who have kept the electorate uneducated and unenlightened. So obviously, you know, the people whose responsibility and duty it is to provide education. I think it is the fact that there's been a death of social consciousness, you know, which, you know, by itself has led to the disconnect to the point where people don't appreciate, you know, their power to register suffrage. I think those circumstances and, of course, individuals who have encouraged this for their own personal selfish gains are the people who, you know, have caused this to happen. I feel for, you know, the electorate, you know, who obviously, because of, you know, the broken system that we're in, you know, don't recognize the power behind their votes. But I think really what's even more important right now is identifying the causes and just sort of fixing the situation and identifying that you know, it's not until another election season everybody then begins to scamper like, you know, chickens with their heads cut off. Let's have these conversations, you know, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years before the time. Let's begin to build an enlightened electorate, you know, from the grassroots level. I think that that's the most important thing at this point.
Perfectly said, Cobhams Asuquo. Many thanks for being on the show this morning.
Timely intervention by you and your group.
Well, musician and producer Cobhams Asuquo.